Hi, this is Samantha Eidner-Treewergy, Director of Early Education Policy.
Yes. Hold on, I'll tell you.
Okay, I'm waiting. It just said I was talking, so I was like, oh, I better talk.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, Sam.
Good afternoon. This is Samantha Eidner-Treewergy, the Director of Early Education Policy for the City of Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us, and for those who have friends and colleagues that weren't able to join us, not to worry. We know it was short notice, and we will be sending out the recording of this afterwards. But we wanted to start today with the Universal Preschool application process, giving you an introduction to what you can expect over the next couple weeks as we launch this process, the access you'll have to the system to be able to make sure that you are contacting your list and reaching out and helping them through the next steps, the students who have applied for your school. So I'm going to turn this over in a second to David Schwab and Frank Nichols to be able to walk through the specifics of the system. But I wanted to quickly announce that we have had an overwhelming response to the early bird application, where we have had over 8,000 applications, which is more than we had, or about 8,300 applications, which is more than we had in the entire first round last year. So while there's a lot left to do, this is an incredible sign, and you can expect next week to see the children who've applied to your school, and we'll learn today about more the next steps for you. So thank you again. We'll have time for questions and answers at the end of the webinar, but in the meantime, I look forward to hearing from you about what you think about the process. Dave?
Sam, my name is David Schwab. I am a project manager with the City of Chicago. It is nice of all of you guys to join us, and we're really excited to be launching this new application and this new initiative, and we are excited. So I will go through some of the policies, procedures that are going to start affecting our schools immediately, or have been affecting our schools, and then my colleague Frank here will talk through some of the technology. And just be aware that this is recorded, so we'll be able to, Sam said, I think we'll be able to send this to everybody. We'll be able to send people the PowerPoint, so anyone who is missing out on this will have the ability to catch up later, okay? So here we go, and if you have questions.
So if this is probably your first time in a webinar, I'll go real quickly over how you can ask questions. And there should be a question box in your panel. You can go ahead and type your question. We'll go ahead and read it aloud and answer it to the whole audience. You can also send us a question via chat, or you can also raise your hand and we can unmute your mic and you can go ahead and ask your question directly to our panel. Okay?
Are we showing the PowerPoint?
Yeah, we'll put that on right
now. Okay, so the Universal Preschool application for the City of Chicago and CPS. Like I said, we'll go through policies, procedures, and we'll go to using the ECM system, and then we'll go to questions and answers. So what's going to happen is an account link will be sent to all of the users in the schools that were sent a survey earlier this spring. That would be the principal and his or her designees. And then those users are going to get a link to have access to the system, and then they will be able to request access for other staff, limiting that to 5 users per school. Teachers and principals through this access will only be able to see the list of students from their school, and it'll be similar to what many of you guys experienced last year with the Ready to Learn program, where you'll be able to see the students that are only in your school and not the students for other schools. And this access will begin June 13th. Families, here's a brief timeline on what's happening. So families can apply online at chicagoearlylearning.org from their computer or mobile devices or with assistance at libraries or any community sites. Really, they can do this from any place that has a good internet connection. And families will be able to search preschool programs based on need, availability, and household information on the chicagoearlylearning.org site. The application is actually a link directly from that site, so they can either land at chicagoearlylearning.org or go from apply.chicagoearlylearning.org. June 10th, as you guys know, we've had the early application open where Sam said we got over 8,000 applications. We're very excited about that. That window is ending this Friday, June 10th. On June 13th, we will send notifications to all families, letting them know if they were waitlisted or preliminary placed in the schools that they chose. And on that date, June 13th, teachers and principals will be able to access the list of students via the technology we're showing you today. And then on June 20th, we will reopen the online application to the full exchange site, we call it, which is where parents or guardians can go online and apply and then see immediate availability of a school or a community-based preschool. So here's a little bit more about that process. The parent fills out the application, as you see here, May 16th to June 10th, receiving a preliminary placement. After June 20th, they get their automatic either placement or wait list, and then they get instructed to do a verification step, which basically means they visit for schools, for CPS school preschools. Those parents visit a family resource center where they are asked to provide verification documentation for registration and receive instruction for enrollment. Okay, so what that means is that they will be asked to bring in certain documents, which we'll go over in a second. And the staff there at these family resource centers, there's actually 10 in total, Hall Mall and Coleman, which are early childhood sites that everybody's pretty familiar with from the past couple of years, and 8 libraries spread across the city are going to be places where parents can go during those library hours, which is convenient because some of those libraries are open after 5 o'clock and sometimes even until 8 o'clock at night, so it gives families a good option if they're working to go after work. When they go there, they will get a receipt confirming that they were there, and then they will be instructed to connect directly with the school that they are applying to, and then the school staff will proceed with the registration process, including registering the child in impact, although it is good to note that we are creating an impact ID, a record for every child that goes through this system. The staff role for CPS users would be a couple of things. One is to contact parents who are preliminarily placed at your site via this online application. Make sure that they know that they should be visiting one of our 10 family resource centers to verify their information. If you make contact with that parent or guardian, what you can do in this portal that Frank will show you is you can either accept or decline the student, which we'll show you in a minute. And you can also let those families know about your school's specific registration processes that are going to occur between now and the beginning of school. What we also want you to do is to help monitor to ensure that families become verified at the Family Resource Center. So if you see the status of the children that have been offered at your school is not verified yet, you'll be able to encourage them to do so. We'll also be leaning on schools and teachers, principals, clerks, and everybody else to recruit additional families and to do things like support families when they're completing their online applications. Again, this application is accessible from anywhere with a internet connection. So if a child comes into a school and wishes to apply to your school, they can be assisted at that moment via your computers or your technology. They can do that at home as well, and then they do need to take that next step to get verified in one of our family resource centers. And we also want to have you guys encourage community partners to help families apply online. So one of the goals of this process is to empower and enable various community organizations to assist families that they already work with or could work with. And so we're going to be connecting them to lots of families, and we're looking for your help with that type of thing. The eligibility for this is what most of you guys already know, and it's not changing from the past year. Children to use this system for CPS must be 3 or 4 by September 1st, and they must live in Chicago, and they must meet the certain criteria that are defined by our sites and our schools. Families who are meeting the criteria defined by the school or the site are either preliminary placed or they're waitlisted if there are not enough seats for them at that particular risk level. One application is only allowed to be submitted per student, and students can be placed at one school and remain on up to one waitlist, which is the same format that we used last year. Students who have disabilities are encouraged to apply, except the fact that placement, if it's required to be done by the Office of Diverse Learners and Support Services, that placement will occur in that way. We are placing itinerant and speech children in gen ed spots through the system. We're encouraging everybody to apply, but knowing that if they require a placement otherwise, that will take precedent over their placement that we offer them through this. Returning students are automatically enrolled in your school, and that means a 3-year-old who has enrolled in your school before June 10th, before Friday, is going to be automatically going back for the 4-year-old program unless they tell us differently, and they don't have to take any action. And some of the ways that parents who go into the system who are not returning, but who are applying for the first time, either at the 3-year-old age cycle or the age cycle 4, some of the criteria that places them are things that you guys already probably know about, like homelessness, or students with disabilities are given preference. Students are sorted and given preference by income, by age, by home language, and various other factors identified as risk factors, risk criteria. These factors are used to determine whether or not that particular applicant is eligible at that moment in time for your school, based on the requirements that early childhood has set for your school and your funding requirements. Families are either offered a preliminary placement or a wait list, depending on how that match occurs between their risk and the school's availability. Siblings, a couple of special considerations for placement. Siblings, families can use this system. They can create an account and set up more than one child at a time, so this could be used in that respect for families who have a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old, or families who have twins or triplets. Considerations given to families with preschool age siblings, so students who are applying as a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old and have a student in that preschool already who will be continuing there next fall will be given consideration for placement. We are working to coordinate placement with the older siblings, although that is not given consideration for this year, for next year's preschool placement for kids who have siblings in the kindergarten through 12 grade levels, and that has been the case for several years. Students with disabilities are given preference, as I noted earlier, and those requiring blended or instructional specialized placement will be placed with the through the Office of Diverse Learners and Supports. And there is a co-pay system this year, as there was last year, and the students who qualify for a co-pay will receive notice from the Early Childhood Education Office regarding those specifics. Students who don't qualify or for a seat that they've selected or whose preferred program is full will be waitlisted. Waitlists are prioritized by need, not the date of application, as per our funding requirements. So what that means is that a student's waitlist number could change over the course of time. So when they ask us what their waitlist number is, there's no way we can tell them because that is fluctuating based on the applicant pool. And what that's doing is actually prioritizing the students with the highest risk level all the time, which is an equitable system that we hope will get some of our highest risk, most needy families into these schools and programs first. Waitlist offers that are given to parents are given automatically. So the system continuously, nightly looks for Students who are waitlisted who now meet the eligibility or qualification criteria at that given time for that given seat, and we'll send them a message giving them an offer. And those waitlists cannot be overridden at the school level. The verification process, to describe this a little bit, as I said earlier, the families who do receive an offer will be required to visit and they're applying to CPS. I want to note the distinction between those families who apply to a CPS preschool and those who apply to a community-based organization preschool. Those families in the CBOs must visit the CBO to which they applied. Families who are receiving offers preliminarily to a CPS preschool are going to visit our 8 libraries, which is available. You can see that listing on our ChicagoEarlyLearning.org website right now, and Coleman and Hall Mall. Those families, when they're notified of this offer, either via the early bird notice that's coming out in a few days, or when they join the system after June 20th, they'll be given 2 weeks to become verified, to basically visit one of these sites with their documents. Of course, students who are in temporary living situations are exempt from these requirements. The deadline for students to do this verification is 2 weeks, but it's going to be very simple and user-friendly for parents to extend that deadline. If they accept a placement with you in your portal that you'll be seeing in a second, that will extend their deadline by 2 weeks. And also they can call the Illinois Action Hotline, they can call Early Childhood, they can, there's a couple of different channels they can go to where it's real simple for staff to simply grant them more time if it's going to be a burden for them to make the 2-week deadline. We do want to encourage families to get this done as quick as possible, and also note that they do not have to do it on the first day that they get their offer. They do have that full 2 weeks. So we expect that our wait times at some of our sites will be heavy on those first couple of days next week, and so the message to families can be that you have to do this within 2 weeks, but you do not have to do it on day 1, 2, 3, or even 4. And families will need to bring proof of income and proof of birth, and they will receive from our staff a receipt. They will receive some medical and dental forms, and they'll be encouraged to contact the school to which they are placed for registration details. Parents who have submitted applications cannot modify their application information on their own. One of the examples that we like to use is like a LinkedIn profile is sort of how this system works. When you set up an account with LinkedIn, you set up your details, and you might have a resume on file, and then you submit that resume to a job. That job will see the snapshot of your resume at that moment in time. If you were to go back into your LinkedIn profile and start messing with your email address or your phone number or your experience, that job that you applied to would not see those changes. That's the same idea that this system operates under, that a parent has a profile. At the point that they submit an application, that is a snapshot of their profile and their risk criteria at that moment in time. If they want to change what they've done or what they've selected or how they're being placed on the application, they're going to need to do that with a Family Resource Center specialist. And families will be given instructions on how to do that. If a student is already enrolled and wishes to transfer, he or she can request this change at a Family Resource Center in a similar manner as described above. But we will take steps to make sure that we note the transfer request and that we have a system for making that transfer official in impact. And at this point, I am going to turn it over to my colleague, Frank Nichols, who is with the William Everett Group, who is going to go through the technology. Oh, before that, I guess we should take some questions before Frank goes ahead. I'll answer some of the questions that are here on the side. Will schools be given funds to have staff available over the summer? I do believe we are opening registration dates, and we will be in contact with the schools and the principals about that very shortly. I think if anyone has any specific questions about that, they may want to reach out to the Office of Early Childhood Education at 773-553-2010, but the plan is to open up dates for registration at this time. Is that the only question? And that's the only question. Wow, I must have done a great job. Now I'll turn it over to Mr. Frank Nichols.
Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Nichols. I'm here on behalf of AdSysTech, who is actually developing the technology on this project. So I want to start by explaining the application process as far as technology goes and where applications originate from. Applications can originate from 3 places. We have the Early Bird web form, which is live right now, and applications will go through that ahead of June 13th. On June 20th, there'll be the Parent Exchange website, similar to the web form, but with more functionality. And again, applications can originate there. And finally, we have the actual back end. So this is ECM, which stands for Enterprise Case Management. This particular version of ECM, Early Learning ECM, so we call it EL, ECM, or just ECM for short. And this is what I'm actually going to show you today. And this is the system that's being used to manage all preschool applications. All right, so the Early Bird web form is actually live right now, and you can go see it, if you like, at chicagoearlylearning.org. Parents are submitting applications here, and this is where we got the 8,000 plus applications. And they're just awaiting that placement or waitlist status, which is going to be communicated by June 13th. In addition, we have the Parent Exchange website, which is on the way. This will be ready by June 20th. And this is where parents can create accounts, create preschool applications as well. And if you filled out an Early Bird form, you'll get an invitation to go to this Exchange website as well and view your application status. So what's different about this version of the application is you actually get instant placement and waitlist status. So if you choose some sites, you're going to find out immediately if you get the placement or waitlist. And finally, the reason I'm here is I want to show you ECM. So this is where staff actually manage the applications on the back end. So staff can create new parent accounts and applications, basically doing the same things that parents are doing for themselves in the parent website, but staff can do it for them. So this is how we assist parents that can't get onto the website. Staff can create them an account. They can create them a preschool application. They can manage all existing applications. So you can actually search for applications in the system. Make changes to the applications if necessary. This is where you actually go to verify income. And this is where, especially pertaining to this audience, where you actually view your applicant list by site. So in this case, by school. So I just want to quickly review the application statuses before I show you them inside of the system. So what happens when an application comes in and there was a placement or slot available to that child? The status is going to show as offer. And that means that the application was submitted and a placement was available to that child. The next status, accepted. So staff can actually log in to ECM and accept the offers. Now the other option here is to decline the offers, and I'm going to demonstrate that as well. The next step in the process, the confirmed status, otherwise known as verified, and this means the verification of documents, including income. And finally, we have the enrolled status. Once you actually see students that have been confirmed and the documents have been confirmed, you can go ahead and click the enrolled button, and this implies that the child actually arrived at preschool. So I actually want to show you how this works in the system. I believe we are going to distribute slides like this one that actually walk you through the system. It's something that you'll be able to look at. But for now, I'm actually going to log in to a test site just to demonstrate live. And we're going to go ahead and answer a few more questions while I'm logging in.
Will parents need to show proof of residency?
Parents will not need to show proof of residency at the application site. the residency proof will be required at the school level. So we did require that to be brought to the application site last year, and it's not this year. So as you saw, there's only 2 forms of proof that any student needs to bring in. Again, remember that students in temporary living situations do not have to bring in any documents, but the rest of the population needs to bring in proof of income that supports the child and proof of birth.
And Dave, can I add to that as well? Your school will follow your procedures for proof of residency. So that's not something we require to keep on file at the central office level. So we're trying to reduce barriers for parents by not requiring them to bring them into the income verification site. However, this is the reason we want you to make connection with those families directly, because your school has so things that you need to keep on file as well, and we want to make sure parents are prepared for that before they show up at your school for registration. So they will be receiving a letter that's when they verify their income and proof of birth, that we will say, be prepared to show some of these things when you show up at school for registration. And we do encourage them also to reach out to you directly and have that conversation if there's certain things that you need. In addition, the full registration packet from Office of Early Childhood will be coming by the end of the week.
Got another question, Sam. What happens if parents do not verify documents before the 2-week window?
Dave, do you want to answer that? Do you want me to answer that?
Go ahead, Sam.
So if they do not verify if we do not hear from them at all in that 2-week window, we are unable to get in touch with them, you are unable to get in touch with them, then we will consider that space released for another student. If they do not show up within that 2-week window, but they've called and told us they will show up, in 3 or 4 weeks, we are happy to extend the time until it's convenient or possible for them to come in and continue holding that slot for them. But we do need to hear something from them in order to do that so that we're not preventing another child from coming in based on a family we haven't been able to get in touch with.
Okay, we got we'll just keep going here. A family needs to check the sibling box on their already submitted application. The twin sister was placed at my school after the family applied. The resource center people at the library said it could not be changed. This may affect placement for the twin. Do you have any?
So, and Victor, I can take that one. The library may not have the ability to do that, so if we, that has to be done centrally. So I think I know who that was, and happy to address that offline. I think we certainly want to accommodate that family.
Other than the school contacting the family, will the families be notified via mail or email?
Yes, the families are notified via, they prefer a notification type on their application, and that can be either phone, email, or text. The early bird applicants, it should be noted, are going to get an email if they have that and a letter sent home. The rest of the applicants, June 20th and beyond, are not going to get a letter sent home, but they are going to get an online notification, and an email, or a message sent to their phone, which will tell them, will confirm their status. They can always log into their account to see their status. They can also call our hotline numbers to inquire about it if they have lost their ability to do that or have no access to a computer or a smartphone. But yes, the parents are notified instantaneously and reminded. We will be sending out reminders to them that they have a certain amount of time to be verified. So it's not just on the schools to contact the students, it's a two-way street.
Do they have to live in our boundaries?
No, for preschool, there is no attendance boundary. The preschool, this program works off of risk or a need-based criteria. Unlike kindergarten through 12th grade at CPS, preschools do not have attendance boundaries.
We'll answer a few more, and then we'll get to Frank's live demo. Will full-day programs enroll 4-year-olds first before 3-year-old students? We will be giving students, based on the allocation file that we're loading to the system,
It's going to show what that school or what that program can tolerate. 4-year-olds would be one of the triggers that gives a family additional points. If a school is full day and half day, what a parent can do is specify what they would like in their application, if they would like full day or half day, and they are also seeing what that school offers. Now, we're not placing them per se into the full day or half day at this moment in time, but we are going to be providing guidance to schools in terms of what the procedures and policies are for which students to put into which class. Typically, that means the 4-year-olds and the higher risk students are given priority to the full day if the school has both.
And I think we should come back to these questions and go ahead. Okay, go ahead, Frank.
Okay, I'm going to proceed with the technology demo. It should be pretty quick. We'll get back to the questions after that. What you can see right now, this is me just going to a website, and that's pretty much how it's going to work for you. Once we send you the link in your user account, you'll go ahead and log in. The requirements, you cannot use Internet Explorer. That's pretty much the only restriction. You can use Google Chrome, you can use Safari, Firefox, you can use any device. I've logged in on my phone and gone through all the pages just fine. So it's a pretty versatile website. Another thing that you can do, and this might help you to actually see it right now, you can always hold down the control key. This is pretty much for any website, and hit the plus sign. Then you can zoom in if you need to see. I zoomed in a little bit just to show you some of the pages.
Frank, can I interrupt for 1 second? Just to be clear, you on the phone right now won't have access to this page that you're seeing, so we're showing you how an application would be filled out in the new version, in the new application, but you all will only be able to see the children who are applying to your site, as we had indicated earlier.
Thanks, Sam. Yes, that's correct. So I just want to show you that basically we have a profile that is going to come in from the early bird form or from the Parent Exchange website. And it can also be filled out on the back end by staff. In addition, off of that profile, applications will be created. And these are applications for preschool. And once the applications go through to your site, that's when your page comes into play. So when you log in, you're actually going to see an applicant list. Right, so I'm going to make the view a little bigger here, just 1 second. And I'm going to go ahead and show you an example. So imagine, if you will, that your school name goes here, and your site is listed as the location. So what I've got here, these are the list of all my applicants. So right now it's showing me all the applicants. And I'm going to go ahead and check out this list. I can see names, dates of birth, age. I can see their type preference, full day, half day, and I can see the school year. The expiration date, as Dave mentioned earlier, if you get an offer, you have a couple of weeks to go in and get verified and confirm your documents. And if you were to accept an offer, of course, you can go ahead and reset that 2 weeks. There's also an application ID, which would come in handy if there are any application issues. There is a hotline to handle applications. So, and what I want to point out here is you can actually filter by the status. So I want to take you through a few scenarios that you'll encounter. And I want to go through those statuses that I showed you in my slide. Offered, accepted, confirmed, enrolled, and then there's a few pitfalls along the way, such as declined or somebody who got on the wait list. So I'm going to click on offered first. So right now I can see all of the students that have an offer. This means that a wait list or a slot was available to them, not a wait list. If a slot was available to them, they got an offer, and it means that they're eligible. So these are all my offers. And what I also know from this is none have accepted as of yet. Otherwise, they would be in the acceptance list. So in the scenarios that Dave was describing earlier, when you can do an acceptance and when you have an acceptance, I'm just going to click on Wally. I can go ahead and accept. There's also a decline button as well. So I'm going to click accept. And I went ahead and accepted Wally. At this point, I am still going to be waiting on the confirmation. So as you know, the resource centers are confirming income and documents. So you will be waiting on that before you go to enroll. So I just accepted somebody. I can also click on somebody and decline. So I'm going to scroll down and decline placement. And the important thing here is to make sure that you're going to enter a reason and a comment. So some reasons are going to be provided when it goes live. So you'll select one of those. And then, of course, you want to add comments. And then decline placement. Okay, so I accepted, I declined. What I want to do now, I'm going to filter over to my accepted students. As I mentioned before, there's not really any action that you'll need to take here. You're actually waiting for them to become confirmed and present all their documents to the necessary staff. If it so happens that you can decline at any point or a parent asks to be removed, you can always decline. I'm going to move on to the next status. Now I'm looking at confirmed. So at this point, these students are ready to come in. Now they might need to be registered in your other systems, as Dave mentioned, but at this point they've gone through at least the confirmation process of verifying income initially and the other things that need to be verified. And when they are going to be attending your site and showing up to your site, you will click enroll. So in this case, it looks like Franklin was just enrolled. And I can click on somebody else, and I can enroll anybody that attends preschool. All right, a few more things we didn't look at. Declined. I can take a look at the declined list here. So it's still going to be available to you. And then finally, the wait list. So as Dave mentioned earlier, the wait list will receive automatic offers. So you can see who's in the wait list, but you're not going to be able to manipulate it or override it. So I just want to show you that you can also see the wait list stat. A few other things to point out. I can see the number of pending offers. So at this point, you really want to get those offers to acceptances. And if these families go into the resource centers, those resource centers will accept the offers on their behalf. So I can see I have 7 pending offers. I can also see the slots available for wait lists. So as additional students fill out applications, I could potentially have 3 more in my wait list here. All right, so, and that is a full overview of the teacher portal. So we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. And let me just throw in a few more things. What you saw today is not your full training. There is actually going to be, in this question marks right here, if you click on the question mark, we're going to put in a little training guide that basically walks you through the page. That's for anybody who didn't attend today and anybody who needs a refresher. And in addition, there's going to be a play button. So you can actually click play, and this goes with any page on this site for people that are managing applications as well. You can click play. You'll watch a video. It's going to be me telling you how to use the website once again. So the training materials will also be distributed along with the website and your usernames. So that's it for my demonstration. We'll open it up to questions about technology, policy, process, whatever else you have.
Okay, thank you, Frank.
Frank, could you go to the administrative and show people how they can add other people to their to have access if they need to?
I'm not sure that's available to demonstrate, Sam, but I'm glad you mentioned it because select users are logging in and they are going to have a page where they can choose who they want to invite among their staff to log in. So I don't believe that's available right now. Oh, there we go. Request new access. Okay, so we'll provide you with this page as well. Request new access. It allows you to put in the name, the security, phone number, email address for staff that need to log in. Okay.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start answering some questions now. Does a family need to live in our attendance area?
No, the family does not live in the attendance area. There is no attendance area for the preschool program.
Great. When the site goes live, will schools be responsible for verifying income?
No, schools at this moment in time are not responsible for verifying income. Like we said before, the income will be verified at the 10 family resource centers, the 8 libraries we've designated, and staff plus Coleman and Hallmall.
How many attempts must be made before we can go into the next family when holding spots?
We're going to follow the waitlist procedure, the standard waitlist procedure for CPS that we've done for several years. Usually that's 3 attempts, no less than 72 hours, I believe. We could consult the actual policy to make sure that that's right and that that's followed by everybody. But
Dave, the important thing is that you are not actually offering another slot. So if you press decline, it will offer another slot to someone else. But remember, that family has been communicated to that they have 2 weeks to come into the family resource site. So you really should only press decline if you have talked to the family and know that they are not coming to your site. Otherwise, really, they have those 2 weeks before before it automatically moves on to the next family.
Who is the CPS early childhood contact that we should be directing our CPS specific questions?
You can direct them to the 2010 number or the OECE email address, and they are making sure that they have enough capacity on those 2 things to be able to answer those questions. Dave, you can give the exact number and email address.
Sure, it's 773-553-2010. That's the Office of Early Childhood Education. And they're there to support any schools with any of the questions they have on this system or on any programmatic questions. And the email address would be oece@cps.edu, and that is the box you can use for any of those questions as well.
And of course, the Chief Officer of Early Childhood is Diego Giraldo, and I'm sure would be happy to hear from you as well if there's something specific you need to talk to him about.
Is there any way for us to see how many students are placed with us and who they are at this point?
On Monday, this portal will reach out, will go live. You'll get access to it, and then all of the children who've been applied and placed at your site will show up on that list that Frank just went through, that portal, and you'll have access to that. Unfortunately, we will not be able to provide that access until Monday.
We still have students until June 21st. When will we have time to register the new students?
We are looking into right now, and we'll have confirmation of doing registration at the beginning of the year as well. So certainly we encourage you to reach out to all of the families that are on your list as soon as you get that list and work to see if you can get some of the registration done before the end of the school year. But if not, we are looking into the first week back as having that be as a registration time, and the Office of Early Childhood will send out more information on that in the next couple days.
Is the list of accepted students ordered in any way? Example, most needy to least needy, like the wait list will be?
It works a little bit different than that. There's not really an order. There's a pool of students that have gotten an offer, and there's a pool of students who have not gotten an offer. The system, as we mentioned and what Sam mentioned, automatically does those offers to the most eligible student on the wait list when that spot becomes available. So the sorting of the offer list is really not a key indicator for us or for you guys to use. It's more you want to see who has the offer and make sure that those kids are followed up with. We could provide that information to schools and to staff upon request. I mean, we can definitely it's not something that we're going to be giving to parents like you are on top of the list, you're bottom of the list. But that's definitely something that if you wanted to know the demographics in terms of the risk levels and things like that, as long as it's within the parameters of what we feel we can give out to schools that's not discriminatory, we definitely give that out. The list, it won't be sorted in any sort of order like that. You'll have your pool of offers, your pool of, and then you'll see their different statuses as Frank describes.
Next question. Who will place the returning students in full day or half day? Who will make the decision?
The decision to place in the full or half day with the guidance from early childhood is made on the school level. So there will be communications going to the schools about those decisions and what those decisions need to take. As I said before, on this system, what you're going to see is the child's preference, and the child or the family is going to see what it is that you offer. So in the cases, there's about 30 of them across the city where we have both full and half day operating in the same building. Those are going to be left to the school with the guidance from early childhood in terms of the proper way to place those students. And if you have questions about that, that's something that the early childhood folks would be more than happy to help you with.
Great. School/staff must accept first before the family can go verify their documents, or can they go verify their documents upon receiving notification?
They can do either one of those is fine. As Frank said, and I think as I said, when you do accept them, that means you've made contact with them, and then that automatically does one thing. It basically triggers them another 2 weeks to get verified. They can do it in any order, and actually the verification site, if they do accept the offer, the verification site can say accept as well. So it can be a one-stop shop. They can get the offer and call you and accept it, but then they still need to go verify. Or they can get the offer, go verify, and then accept it. Or they can say to the verification site, I am going, I want to verify, do that, and also accept. So those status.
I think one important thing, that the reason for the accept is we are trying ultimately, while we know this year we have to have another step for families to bring their income verification to a centralized site, we're trying to provide a system where we're encouraging them and you to build that relationship that's so critical for the educational outcomes of children. So while, as Dave walked through, there's many options for families, we want to know if you have made contact with that family and you are starting to talk, we want to give you a place to indicate that so that we know that family, you've actually talked to them, and that it'll allow us to make sure we don't mark them as having never been in touch with anyone.
How do we log into AdsysTech, or is that information forthcoming?
Yeah, you guys, all of the users, as I said, that completed the survey that was sent out by Early Childhood earlier in the spring, will be given a link, and then they'll be able to set up their account at some point before June 13th.
Do you click on enroll after the child has been entered on Impact, or right before the child is entered?
That I would say that has to go to our impact policy. So what we do want to note that impact is still a requirement of this process, and that all of the students have to be entered into impact and registered.
Dave, I think that's it. That the children will be automatically entered into impact through this process. So one piece of clarity for you all, through this process, all children will make sure that they have an impact record. And so by the time they are getting to you for the enrolled period, they should already be in impact. You are just enrolling them in your school, not entering them into impact. I think this is a critical distinction, and something we've tried very hard to improve for this year is to make that an automated process, so there's far less duplicate entry needed across the two different systems. So you will press enroll when the family has filled out the registration packet and or when they show up on the first day of school. You will do impact as soon as they are verified in your system. You can enroll them in your school for impact.
Great. So as of June, you answered that one already? No, right?
The next question is about accept and and confirm or verify. As I said, those steps are interchangeable in terms of timing. They can call you and accept. They can verify with us and accept. They can verify and then accept with you. They can do it in multiple permutations. That accept as Sam described is really to allow you to make contact with the student and establish that relationship with them. The key step in this, the key steps that affect the numbers that they're taking are really the offered and the verified. They do need to they do need to qualify for an offer at your school, and they do need to become verified within that time window. The accept is what you would do once the contact is established. That can be done, like I said, in different permutations.
How do you avoid student ID duplications?
We have a system built in here to this process that is actually, what it's doing is any student that comes in, it's doing a search for them in Impact. And if it's an exact match to one of our IDs that's already created, it will assign it to them or give it to them. If it is a non-match based on the criteria that we've established, it's going to assign a new ID to them. And then if it's potentially a match, but not for sure, if it shows a shadow of a doubt that it could be this student or one or more students, it's going to be manually looked at via this process to say which is the actual identity of the student. So our goal is that we are setting up impact IDs for every student, and our goal through this automation, we think we'll be able to severely limit the amount of duplicates that we create or that are created manually in this process. And it's important to note to clerks and to teachers or whoever's doing registration and impact that any student that went through this process, which is all new students to this preschool landscape, do have a CPS impact record already. So you want to try and avoid them from creating new IDs for these students.
So I think that to what Dave said, all of what you said is happening on the back end at our site. So all of the checking for duplicates, ensuring that we have a new student, and then creating the impact ID is all happening on the back end. So by the time that you guys get there, again, there should be minimal duplication, duplicates, and you should be able to look up the child's impact record, which will be on your list, and then be able to just search that child and enter them into to your school and assign them to the right classroom. That said, we do know that there's other information that has to go in impact, the home language survey, certain information that we aren't collecting completely on this application. And so while they will have a record, please just note, that we know that you'll have to put some other additional information for that child in there.
What happens to a student that was enrolled this year and now has an IEP, but refuses to place child in the school available for placement because we do not offer those services?
I'm sort of confused with the question. Are they, maybe you can clarify, are they refusing placement in the place that the Office of Diverse Learners place them, or are they refusing a gen ed seat? I think, I'm not quite sure I understand the question. Maybe that person can write in a little bit more detail, because I don't want to answer that wrong. But
I think this is a specific question that we might want to take offline and answer the question. So feel free to call us the Office of Early Childhood. I think at a policy level, what this system is doing is it flags children with IEPs, so we can handle that on a more one-on-one basis. Children who need placement in a special ed seat, and for children who are transferring, they will also be flagged, so we will know that as well. But the critical part is they can go through this system if they have an IEP to try to get a preferred placement, but we will still flag those that that need a placement by ODLSS, and we'll be doing that through a manual process.
Once you accept, does the system change the expiration date?
Yes, once the status is changed to accept, it adds an additional 2 weeks to their expiration date on their verification.
Could you clarify again how teachers have access?
Teachers have access. We sent out, Early Childhood actually sent out a survey earlier this spring which asked for the primary contacts and secondary and tertiary contacts for each school. And that was answered, and then those assignments are those permissions, I'm sorry, are going to be given out before the 13th. If anyone wants permission, as we showed you, the principal is able to go into this request new access field and request access for the teacher or the other staffer who wants it. They'll have to put in their secure credentials in order to verify that, but that's going to be great because it's going to be an automatic way. So we're trying to limit it to 5 users per site. If anyone has anything more than that they want, we can do a conversation about that. But there should be at least 2 or 3 staffers that have access immediately, and then, like I said, they can request new access very simply for other users via this system.
Is there any way a neighborhood center can be opened, especially in low-income communities where public transportation and language is an issue? A walking distance facility, perhaps?
I think this question is referring to a family resource center being open closer to where the families are and some of the issues that people face in terms of getting to these sites. We've tried to be strategic in terms of opening enough places that we think we can cover a lot of the city, but that said, we do know that there are parents who have struggled getting to these places. We are going to be, one thing we're doing is we are empowering a lot of community organizations to work through this process and to assist families with it. The other thing we're going to be doing is allowing those organizations to schedule events and schedule application events that we will visit with application reps. So if you have an organization that is near your school that you work with that you think would be a good resource to do this kind of thing over the summer in order to organize an event and invite us to it, that's something that this system will allow and that we'd be more than happy to do.
Are students marked confirmed by your office or by the school?
The students are marked confirmed by the Family Resource Center assistants in the libraries, Coleman and Hall Mall.
Will there be assistance in Spanish at these verification sites?
Yes. As much as humanly possible, we have bilingual staffers in almost all of our sites. And we have other library personnel who should be able to help if there is issues. If anyone has any problems, they can always call the office, I forget the name of the office, the Language and Cultural Education Office for CPS can always offer assistance with translation. And let us know if there's situations where parents are feeling that they're not getting served in English and Spanish.
Will there be any translator at the Family Resource Center who can help Chinese-speaking families?
At this moment in time, no, we don't have people who speak Chinese at the Family Resource Centers. We have people who speak English and Spanish where we think that's going to be necessary. As far as the Chinese speaking, again, this is where we think that we can connect the local agencies and the local staffers to help assist the parents through this process. We're just unable to cover the entire city with every language, even though that would be the ideal. We just can't do that at this moment, but we think that empowering some local organizations and some local staffers to do that is a good step forward.
For returning students who want to go full-time, who will make the decision?
Again, the decision to place into full and half-day classrooms is at the school level. However, the Early Childhood Office has to provide and will provide guidance in terms of which students qualify for those full-day classes.
What if we need to assist students for a bilingual program with the pre-IPT? What's the earliest we can assess them to know which program they would be in?
In terms of bilingual, you will be doing that at the site level as you always would be. And so as soon as they come in for registration and you are able to get the home language survey and the pre-IPT, you will be able to refer them to the program accordingly.
I use that list to offer AM versus PM spots.
Not sure.
That's from Ann McNally. I guess maybe we clicked on that question. Ann, if you can go ahead and make a clarifying statement. So we can answer that one for you. Will the verification sites be scanning the birth certificates? And will the school need to ask for the original again at enrollment?
Yeah, policy dictates that the school is doing the same thing they've done, in which they do need an original birth certificate. At our verification sites, we need a birth certificate. We don't need it to be original. That's a different, there's a different reason for that, and it's not for what we're doing at the application time. We are not scanning them at this time. We are collecting, we are taking them, we are making a copy, giving whatever original was provided back to the parent, and then securely storing the birth documents and income documents, and those documents are being sent to Head Start officials for their review and for their what it is that they need to do with them. So we're not actually scanning them into any computer system at this time, but we are keeping a copy of them securely.
When will we find?
And just to be clear, that's not just Head Start. All of our funders do now require that we have more oversight in terms of income verification, and so we do hope, as Dave said, do hope to be able to move it to a more online system, but in order to stay in compliance this year, this is the system we have to set up.
When will we find out if we are a full-day site or a half-day site?
Office of Early Childhood, we're talking with them today to make sure that they get to communicate to you in a timely manner what classrooms you have for next year, so you're able to address all of this on Monday.
I just want to confirm that CPS Early Childhood will have the enrollment packets to us by Friday so we can get parents in starting Monday.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I'm not sure I understood that.
I just want to confirm that CPS Early Childhood will have the enrollment packets to us by Friday so we can get parents in starting Monday.
The registration packets, the registration packets, yes, they're finalized. They are being sent out with closing procedures this year, so I will confirm with that today as well.
Some families have cultural and language challenges getting to the central verification centers. Any alternatives?
We're willing to work as hard as we possibly can to take away any of those barriers for families, as we've been doing. We do have just those centers, but as I said, we're trying to create a process by which community agencies can assist in this process, and they can organize events closer to people's homes. So while we're not in every, all 86, we don't have the ability to have staff at every 86 libraries across the city, we are trying to do the best we can to make it an accessible process. That said, parents do not need to go anywhere to apply. If they are homeless or in a temporary living situation, they can do the application online or over the phone, and they don't need to go anywhere. And then if there are other issues I think that families have in terms of the application site that they need to go to is inaccessible, or they don't speak the same language as them, or they just can't travel there, please just let us know, and we'll work on those cases individually. We'll do everything we possibly can to make sure that we can accommodate those parents. And that's basically it.
Yeah, I think that everything Dave said is right. We are going to be looking where we have places to ensure that we can get out to communities for days, for a day or so. We will ask you to help us, that if you know that many parents that you're talking to absolutely can't get there, let's problem solve this together. I mean, I think as we said before, this is, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have to do this, but unfortunately to keep in compliance and to ensure that we are really getting their target families into our program. This is the system we have to set up, but we're trying to support families as much as possible. So we have access to supports around CTA and around around other mechanisms. So please be in touch with us. Let us know if you're finding that families, that even if 2 weeks is not long enough or something along those lines, if you know that there's a community day in your neighborhood where there'll be a whole bunch of families, help us, because we can certainly get out to those. We aren't doing, as Dina said, we aren't doing individual school visits to verify documents, mostly because during the summer with schools having varying hours, we feel like it's more effective to go to someplace that maybe is on a Saturday or might serve the community better, and so we're working on that over the summer. So be in touch with us, let us know what we can do, and certainly the primary goal is to help families get into programs. So if we encounter barriers that we can solve, we certainly want to solve them.
Okay, the next question, what if the family is contacted by the school and accept the offer? Do they have more than 2 weeks? If so, how much time, and will they be dropped after the time is up? So the system does require the student to come in and do the verification within 2 weeks. As we said, if the child is accepted, if you mark them as an accept at the school level, that extends their time period for 2 more weeks. And then they're also really easy for them, and this is stuff that we'll share with the parents via FAQs and at the site. It's very, very simple for them to just call and request a extension. We are going to be, because this is new, especially at first, it's going to be very lenient in terms of granting those extensions, because we know that this is new to the city, this is new to many parents, and I don't expect us to be penalizing people. But that said, we do need to set a tone or a precedent that parents do need to do this, and we do expect them to at least make contact within 2 weeks of the offer, so that we can make sure we're filling up seats with kids who want the seats and not just kids who are sitting on seats and preventing others who need them from getting in. The next question, are phone numbers included on the school access list? Yes, they are.
For the students?
Yeah. Okay, not at the moment.
The main location. Yeah, the columns are easy to add.
Yeah, we will add that column. Next, are we going to know what language they speak in order to have an interpreter? Good question. Based on the field that you have on your portal, no, you will not. It doesn't say what language they speak. When do they fill out the registration forms for our school? That is, again, a school decision. We are, as Sam mentioned, we're looking to explore something in the fall, before school starts, to do the registration dates. They can do that at the school's registration discretion ahead of time, before that. Do diverse learners have to apply for next year if they already have a placement letter from ODLSS? It was mentioned that diverse learners are also encouraged to apply. No, if the student is continuing in the same school, they do not need to reapply. That goes for diverse learners as well as gen ed students who are going from the 3-year-old to the 4-year-old program. When I mentioned that diverse learners are encouraged to apply, that is true in that we're encouraging all students to apply, especially if they're not sure of their status. You want to make sure that we catch their application if they're not sure if they're going to need a ODLSS placement or not. We'd rather err on the side of having them apply and then be placed elsewhere by ODLSS rather than assume that they're getting a placement and not apply. And also to note there that speech only and itinerant students are able to place into gen ed seats here. So that's why we say we encourage diverse learners to apply, and those students are actually given preferential placement in these programs. Are there any changes to the school level registration process after placement this year? I think we've answered that. Again, that's the school registration, and we're looking to have open dates before school starts. Will all students be information, I'm sorry. Will all student information be entered into Impact once they apply and come into the Family Resource Center? Once the student actually gets an offer, he will have a record in impact. The registration process, registering them into a classroom is still something that's done at the registration site, done by your clerks. But as we mentioned, the students who go through this system, which is all students who are coming into this preschool landscape this year, are going to have an impact ID already. Are we getting copies of the webinar? Yes. We are recording this and we will be sending it out. Pre-K half day and full day now. Will there be another training after today? I believe there is a meeting that was scheduled for the 13th at Coleman that was sent on the email request or the invite that was given for this webinar. So people can feel free to attend that. I think that's June 13th. We will be making this training available. And as Frank mentioned, there will be a video that goes along with this that is going to show you step-by-step how to use the website. What are the 8 libraries and where are they located? Any time, day, or night restrictions at these locations? The libraries, if I can remember this off the top of my head, would be Rodin and Northtown and Humboldt Park on the north side, Legler on the west side, Woodson on the south side, Bodak on the far east south side, Brighton Park on the southwest side, and I am missing one more, which I will have to look up and get back to you. But those libraries plus Coleman at 46 and Dearborn plus Hall Mall at Diversey and Cicero are our sites, and I'll look that up in a second to get that last one because I only mentioned 7. And the hours, the time of day. So the hours, we're really excited that we're able to do this at libraries this year because those libraries are open in a staggered way. They're open either 10 to 6 on Monday, Wednesday, and then Tuesday, Thursday, 12 to 8, or it's the vice versa of that. It's 12 to 8 on Mondays and Wednesdays, 10 to 6 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Fridays 9 to 5. So those are the restrictions of the times. Coleman and Hall Mall are open from 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. All that information will be available on the website, all of the websites associated with this process, Ready to Learn and ChicagoEarlyLearning.org. Who can we contact to come out to a community site to complete verification? You can contact myself. My email address is david.schwab@cityofchicago.org. Or you can parents can call the hotline, the Illinois Action for Children hotline, and make that request, and they will get that message to us. But if teachers or principals or other staff want to make that request, I'm very much happy to hear them directly. Who will decide whether a student will be placed in the morning or afternoon class? That is up to the school's discretion. Pre-K is full-time from this point. Will change from half-day or full-day depending on the application. I think as Sam mentioned, you guys will be getting, all of the schools will know what their length of day is, whether or not they're full or half or both. Any of those changes, I think this question is asking if a bunch of students apply and they want full day, will we change that to a full day? That would be a question for early childhood to answer directly. I can't really say that that would or would not be possible. Things definitely change over the course of the year, and last year I know that day lengths did change, but not something that I can say clearly right at this moment. Who is really in charge to enroll the students? The clerk, it looks like they're asking. So typically we've found through this process in the last several years that the teachers are the ones who are really having the most contact with the preschool students. Typically the older grade levels are going through the clerks, but we understand that the landscape's a little bit different in these preschools. So that's why we've designed this system to give access to the teachers to do the accept, decline, and to see these lists of students. That said, it should be noted that the person at your building who typically has access to impact is the clerk or the principal, and they will continue to do that enrollment as normal in terms of putting all that supplemental information that's not in the record already in there and assigning the student to classrooms. Registration packets can be completed after students are listed as confirmed. Correct. Yes. Once a student is confirmed, they are good to go to enroll. Apps, not that question. If Lisa can ask that question again, it didn't come through all the way. Is sign language interpreter provided at the site? It's a great question. The answer is no. We don't have sign language interpreters at these 10 sites. I think that if anyone has specific concerns about a family who needs that, just let me know and we will make any and all arrangements to provide that service to the family. Is there any fear of a program changes that could potentially happen due to the financial crisis in CPS? I am not.
Would you like me to answer that question, Dave? I will say right now we are functioning under the assumption that with all of this that schools will open in the fall and we will be on track by then. Obviously the financial crisis from the state level is severely impacting that being a reality, but we will find the plan Bs as we get closer, and if this becomes an issue that would jeopardize school opening in the fall, obviously that would change a lot of these things, but certainly early childhood is not the only one impacted by that.
Okay. Is it best practice to have teachers complete registration at school level or clerks? I would say that is the best practice would be left up to the school's discretion. As we've laid this process out, we know that what we're doing is taking the application from the parent online, and we are doing the verification of their documents to confirm that they are actually qualified to sit in that seat. And then it is up to the school to deal with that registration step. We're trying to make it as seamless as possible by providing documents to the parent at the time that they come to us that they can take to the school, and also instructions so that it's a very clear and defined process for the parent, because we know that it can lots of times be sort of nebulous as far as where they go when, and we're doing our best to make that as seamless as possible. But as far as which of the school staff should be in best practice doing the registration, I think that would be best answered at the school level.
Yeah, Dave, I agree with that. I think that every school is set up a little differently to deal with the range of things that need to happen during registration. As those of you on the call mainly know, there are elements of registration that are child screenings and parent interviews, and obviously in many cases that should be done by the person who knows the child or will be spending time with the child. So, but looking at the range of application, the registration materials, there's not necessarily one staff person that is best suited to do the whole packet, and it's going to depend on how your school is staffed and set up to do that.
Okay. We have one more question, and it looks like I have a hand raised, so I think I can have that question go to audio. But before I do that, let's answer this last question on the text here. Are teachers expected to work on calling parents during their prep until June 21st? Will classes end early to register, or will clerks take over calling parents after June 21st? So I just wanted to clarify again that the process is such that if you're speaking of the wait list is automatic. So the most eligible student on the wait list, when that spot becomes available, will be notified. They will then reach out to get their to do their verification, and then that's where the parent really has to end over the summer. We do encourage the schools, the teachers, the clerks, whoever is there, to make contact with these parents. But in this question, I think you're saying, what do you have to do before June 21st? And In reality, there's nothing that's going to be mandatory on the school's end. The students are going to be selected. They're going to be encouraged or mandated basically to go to these verification sites, and then they're going to be given instructions about reaching out to you to do registration. So I think to clarify, if a student is confirmed in the system, let's say they get an offer on Monday, and then they come to one of our verification sites 2 days later, and they present the documents and they retain their qualification for that seat. Now they have a status of confirmed. They're good to go. They're good to, they're sitting in that seat, and they just need to establish contact with the school about registration. Now that, as we've said, can happen when it is going to happen naturally. So whether or not you are able to do that this summer, or whether or not there are dates provided in the fall before school that can happen, but that's not something that the student has to do any action with over the summer. So there's no expectation that this stuff is worked on necessarily in the summertime. That's not to say that we don't want interaction between the principal, the clerk, the teachers, and the students, just to clarify that. Okay, and then with Judith, are you there? Judith? Okay. Okay, I'm not sure I'm doing this right, or trying to unmute you, Judith Martinez, in order to talk. But I'm not sure. If you want to type your question, you're more than welcome to do that. And that's about it. If there's any further questions, we'll sit here for a few more minutes and wait. Again, we will be sending this recording off. You will be receiving a video about how to use the portal, so that any of the stuff that Frank went through on the actual website will be given to you so you can review it. You will receive much more information about this process in the next few days, including your access to it. And if you have questions in the meantime, feel free to call the Early Childhood Office, or you can call, or you can email me directly. Again, my email is David, that's D-A-V-I-D .Schwab, S-C-H-W-A-B as in boy, at cityofchicago.org. The next question came in while I was speaking. Have you established a time on Monday that you will be releasing the lists? Sam, do you have the answer to that? I'm not quite positive. I think Sam might have left us. We will, when you get your link that shows you how to log in, we'll make sure you know, whether that's midnight on Sunday, or whether that's 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. on Monday. I don't know that I know that off the top of my head, but we will definitely make that clear. Any other questions? Okay, again, email me or email Sam if anyone has questions or needs support. We're excited about this, and really looking forward to a great end of the school year, and hopefully a great beginning of the school year with a lot of full, vibrant classes. Thank you, everybody.